Hey guys, long time no see. We're in the home stretch of this master's degree. Let's see, it's the middle of July, it's like July 22nd, nearing the end of July, and this degree finishes up August 15th, so 2 weeks into August. So where are we at right now? First off, my research class dropped off. Thank goodness. That has helped tremendously. Second bit of exciting news, I finished all of my adult psychiatric hours. Incredible. However, that leaves pediatric hours. Now, we only need 50 pediatric hours. However, we count the hours as time spent with the patient. Sometimes you can include time looking up the patient, preparing for the appointment, which is something that you do as a provider. If you have to look at labs, if you have to talk to other providers, those are billable hours. And the PMHNP I'm with sees across the lifespan. So the hours are a little unpredictable. I do have access to the charting system, which is fantastic because I guess there's really only one place that I was not able to get access. For the most part, everyone allowed me to have some kind of student access to see what patients were coming, look them up, do a little research, kind of what you do. I did in undergrad. I know residents do it. Get prepared so you have answers in your back pocket when things come up. So because I specifically only need the pediatric hours now, and this provider I'm with sees across the lifespan, I talked with her about how if she's okay with it, if she feels it's appropriate, it's probably the best use of my time to pop in for these hours rather than spending one pediatric patient a day, 5 days a week. That's a full-time job when I only need the pediatric hours. So I said, how about I pop in? Are you okay with it? It's much closer. This location is much closer to my house. It's like 15 to 20 minutes. Are you okay if I go through the schedule and I'll stay in contact with you and I'll pop in for the pediatric appointments? And that's essentially what I've been doing. So for the most part, I'll be like, okay, there's a 9 o'clock and an 11 o'clock. I'll go in for those, see the patients, talk with this provider, and then go home and do homework, schedule a shift, study for boards, try and be productive with my time. However, one of the problems I'm running into is that it's summer. I wish I would have known about this, thought about this, considered this. Kids are on break from school. They might not need stimulant medication during the summer. They might not need to follow up as often during the summer. And I have seen so many canceled appointments from the pediatric population in this place, which has been a massive hit. Now, school will start up, sometime in August. So there will be an influx of pediatric patients needing to restart medications, needing evaluated on how the summer went, how moods are, how just evaluated. So towards the end of my semester, there will be an influx of pediatric patients. However, I have to count on the fact that they don't cancel, there's enough to satisfy my hour requirements, and I can be flexible enough to go for those appointments, which I have left my schedule pretty much completely open to work around these pediatric appointments. I work midnights at my ICU job, so considering the days are shorter now at my clinical site, it's a little bit easier to squeeze in work hours while showing up for these pediatric hours. But I'm looking at this schedule and I am like, I have plenty of hours to graduate, but not the pediatric ones. And I feel like that's an important part of pulling all of this together. So I'm like down to the wire. Like, unfortunately, I had hoped that I would be done with all my hours well before the end of the semester. And it looks like I will again be working up to the end of the semester, finishing these hours. And not because I don't have time to squeeze them in, just because of the fact that the pediatric patients are not here. I feel like a Sanderson sister. I'm like seeking out children. Like, I smell children and I need those hours. So unfortunately, I think that takes testing early out of the equation for me, because the ANCC only requires 500 hours for you to test, but it requires across the lifespan. So you need the inpatient hours, the addiction medicine hours, and the pediatric hours. And I don't have the pediatric hours. I have well over 500. I think I'm at like 580 right now, or maybe 590, but I don't have the pediatric hours, and that disqualifies the fact I can't submit what I need to submit because I don't meet the requirements without the pediatric hours. I wish I would have known about this sooner because this isn't the only place I've seen pediatric patients. Now, I have documented my pediatric patients from my other clinical sites. There weren't many, so they didn't add up to what I needed. So it feels like a little bit of a scramble, which is fine. I don't need to test early. I have a stable job. It's more time to study. I just know that by the time I get to the end of the semester, I'm going to be so excited to send everything in. And then I'm going to have to wait for my authorization to test, which if I had everything done right now, I could literally send in my information right now, even without the degree conferred, and at least be eligible to test. But unfortunately, now I have to wait. It is what it is. The office I'm at right now for my pediatric hours is beautiful. It's in like a real tall building. It's on the 7th floor. The view is beautiful. It's very calming, nice colors, couches, comfy places to sit. There are toys for the children. Very, very neat place. There are 2 providers there right now, but it sounds like there are more coming on. There are therapists there. They're wellness-based, so there's also like an M-Sculpt machine. There's the providers work with GLP-1s, a little bit of everything, and it's very cool to see how you can expand your practice as you learn more. Now let's talk about finishing up at my other site. So I did have a place about an hour away from me that I was finishing up my adult psychiatric hours at. And I think I had told you guys that I was developing a really good relationship with this doctor. Clinicals were awesome. It might be my favorite site. Don't tell my other sites. By the end of it, she trusted my judgment enough that I would see these patients in a separate office. There was an office set up that sometimes they'd use them for Spravato. They would use it for Spravato patients. There was like a little recliner in there, and I would grab a set of vitals and I would start going over just the very basic things that I do anyhow as a nurse. Any allergies, anything changed, new medications, anything new medically. How have you been feeling since the changes we made? And then after I spent 20 minutes or so with this patient, we would go in with the doctor and we would finish the appointment, talk about treatment plans, and I would put a note in. And the way that her EHR worked is that she could just sign off on my note or edit it and then sign off on it. So it ended up giving me quite a bit of confidence because I enjoyed talking with these patients. I felt confident talking with these patients. A lot of the plans that I had in my head were plans that we would go with these patients. And it just kind of confirmed that I am on the right track, I'm learning the right things, and I can be a practitioner soon. We had to schedule an appointment with my faculty at my school, a little check-in to see how I was doing, and my preceptor basically said as much. She said she's ready for independent practice. So I felt really good about that. And then on my last day, I like to give a little gift, a little thank you for taking me on and spending extra time teaching me. It's not something that you have to do, and I appreciate that you did do it. So I gave her her little gift, and she had kind of mentioned it a couple times while I was there, but she said, when you pass your test, you always have a job here. That felt so good. That was the most exciting thing. She's a very smart person, smart doctor, experienced doctor. The fact that she'd be willing to take me on as a provider in her practice, incredible. It is an hour from my house. It would be part-time starting out. That's perfect because I'll be starting my doctorate program and I will need a little bit of time to both settle into the provider role and also the DNP student role. But then she was telling me her lease is up in a year or so, and she's actually going to move her practice like a little bit further south, which would be closer to me. It would take it from like an hour to like 45 minutes. So that would be great. That is a big possibility that I'm considering once I take my test. I do plan on reaching out to all of the places that I did clinical hours at when I pass, and just thanking them and kind of reminding them like, hey, it's Jess. I was with you guys these dates. I just want to let you know I passed my test. Thanks for all your help. Thanks for all your time. That way it gives them a little reminder. Oh yeah, we worked with Jess. We know kind of how she thinks, and now she's a provider. So just kind of sneak my name in there a little bit. I've heard from I don't know how accurate it is. You know how Facebook groups can be, but I'm on some PMHNP Facebook groups, and a lot of people talk about how difficult it is securing a job after graduation. So I'm really trying to network and keep these relationships open. Also, if I were to take this job that's an hour away from me, she's a psychiatrist. So there is my physician oversight, which Ohio currently requires, which is one thing that I could take off my plate. Now, a quick life update, because life knows I'm busy right now. The universe, whatever you want to call it, knows I'm busy and keeps throwing me thing after thing. So last week, I get a call from my husband that he's stranded at close to his work, which is like 45 minutes away from our house, because his car is overheating and there's plenty of coolant. We kind of checked a couple things. It was nothing that we could fix on the spot. So we had to get a tow truck and tow his car back to our house. I am a broke college student. My husband works full time, but we still have expenses. And we were not hoping, like, that was not part of the plan. So that's unfortunate. And then the stress is like, you know what? We should manifest as little spots on Jessica. So I've got a canker sore hanging out inside my mouth that bugs me constantly. And then I'm getting a cold sore inside my nose, where I always get my cold sores. I've never had to use like antivirals for them before. I only get like 1 or 2 a year, and I just kind of tough it out. But I'm like, I've got so much on my plate right now. If I could make this shorter in duration or not as large or something, that would be great. So I talked with my primary, and she gave me oral antivirals and topical. We're going at it from all angles. Then after like 20 minutes after I talked to my primary and I thought, perfect, I've got this under control, my tooth chipped off. That makes it sound dramatic. It sounds like the whole thing. A significant portion of my molar chipped off. And I wasn't even doing anything. I was chewing gum. And I felt something hard, and I'm like, oh, and I like literally spit it in my hand, and it was part of my tooth, and you can see a significant portion. So now I have a dentist appointment tomorrow, because why not? I have a cold sore. I have a canker sore. I have a chipped molar. I have a car that needs repaired now. All fixable things. All things that I would just like to complain about a little bit. Thank you. And one last thing to complain about. We have a text thread in our cohort, and everyone was texting, hey, I got the email about the pinning ceremony. Who's going to be able to make it to the pinning ceremony? And I'm like, I did not get this email. Who sent it? And they gave me the name of the lady who sent it. I've been in contact with her before. And so I emailed her and I said, hey, I heard from my classmates that there's a pinning ceremony. I didn't get this email. Could you forward it to me and or make sure my email's correct on here? And so she did. She forwarded it to me, but there was no explanation as to why I wasn't on that initial email list. Now, I do have an undergrad account with them, which caused some trouble in the beginning of this program. Everything went to this undergrad account, and they're like, I don't know why you're not getting these emails. I don't know why you're not seeing your classes. You're not looking in the right spot. You're not doing this. And it was this huge back and forth for like a week and a half between IT, this person, the like administrative assistant, who is the one who sent the pinning ceremony email, and me. And then we figured out that it was being sent to the wrong account. So I hope that I'm not missing emails because they're going to a different account. So it kind of scares me that I might be missing out on something because of like an administrative error. I was also like, oh no, do they know something I don't know? Am I not graduating? Do I not get a chance to pin? Like what? Could I get some explanation? I did not get any explanation, but I got the email and she apparently didn't hesitate to send it to me. So I guess that's good. But I think I forgot to mention that at graduation commencement, I think I said that there's one commencement for the year, and it's in spring, and my advisor told me to sign up for it, and then I contacted the registrar and they confirmed that I was signed up for it, and then they sent me information on graduation regalia, caps and gowns, all this kind of stuff. I did a little video thank you like a couple weeks in advance. Like I was all up in and around this. And then my name wasn't on the program, and it also wasn't in the list. They have you like show up early, put on your cap and gown, and go grab your name, because it's not like, because it's so many people, instead of doing it in like alphabetical order or something, they just have you like hand a slip of paper to the MC and they announce it that way. And I didn't have a slip of paper. So I said, oh, just fill one out, write your name on it, and then hand it to her. I'm like, oh, okay. So I felt like I was just kind of thrown in, and my family's like, I didn't see your name on the program. I'm like, it wasn't on the program. It wasn't even like in the list that they had. What is going on? I'm okay with that for the master's portion, but I'm giving them a lot of money. I'm giving them a lot of my time, and I'm trying really hard. So I'll be really disappointed if that happens for the doctorate portion. I would kind of like a little thing, like I would kind of like to keep the program that says Dr. Jessica Rohrig graduated this day. So I don't know what's going on. It's a little frustrating, but every time I reach out, I'm like assured that I'm supposed to be there. I am graduating. Which I'm passing all my classes, I'm paying them money. Of course I'm on track to do the things. I'm doing the things. So I guess I just have to keep being the squeaky wheel. And I will be, but it's a little annoying. So what do we have left? Because like I said, this is the last semester of the master's portion. And we're coming down to essentially the last month. We have less than a month. So we have one more practice test for boards. We already did one. We found where our weak spots were, created a study plan. We have one more test, and I think that's next week. I have to write a little paper about one of my patients, and not just like a case study, but like what I learned about myself from this patient, how I responded to them, what went wrong, what went right, how I felt about it. That's due this week, so I need to work on that after this. And then it seems like mostly discussion posts, which currently involve things like, what does credentialing look like after we're finished? What are the steps that your state takes? What are your next steps? So we're starting to get away from the textbook material and lean into the what are the next steps, which is very cool, which makes the end of this semester feel a little bit more real. So then it's waiting for the authorization to test, making sure that the registrar sends all my stuff to the ANCC, studying, passing, sending all of that information to the Ohio Board of Nursing, getting a DEA number. I think I need something through the IRS to practice as a 1099, like an independent, I don't know, some kind of number that allows me to practice as like a contractor or a 1099. I have to look into that. And then I see who wants to take me on, and if Dr. So-and-so was serious about that offer. And then I have to look a little bit closer at all of her actual policies. We didn't have time to dig deep into everything, but what does her consent paper look like and cover, her release of information paper? I didn't do much of the ordering itself. I was able to do some of it, like putting in the diagnosis. It's Epic, she uses Epic. So entering the diagnosis in that little category and then entering the orders, and then supporting that with all of the information. Why did you make this diagnosis? Did you educate the patient on risks and alternatives for medications? Just really digging deep on that documentation portion, which seems like the hardest part, supporting your diagnosis so you don't have to go back and forth with insurance companies. So that's about where I'm at. We're finishing things up. I'm picking up more shifts. I've nearly exhausted the account that I put away for graduate school, which is great that it got me this far, but I do have another degree to go, so hopefully I'll be able to work as a nurse practitioner and support that next degree, or at least support myself as I work through that next degree and pass boards. That's going to be the big one. My professor, she's my professor, but she's also the director of the program, has a 100% pass rate for her students. So I think between this next practice test and structured study, hopefully I'm in good hands, and that will just be the next step. So if you're in school, let me know how your semester is going. Where are you at? How are things? Are you enjoying this process? And hopefully I will talk to you a little bit sooner next time. Bye.